Kia ora, hello. This is Anyway, and I am your host, Natalie McMurray, coming to you from a little place right down the itty bitty bottom of the world, Aotearoa, New Zealand. Last country before you hit Antarctica. Maybe. Don't fact check me on that. This is a little bonus episode, and I'm only going to do these when I have time, so bear with me. I thought for the bonus episodes, I could go back to the beginning and start watching House of Villains Season 1. It only makes sense, right? So we begin Season 1, Episode 1. We see a shot of the demonic villain's lair, aka the mansion. And we hear a British woman say, "What if you put 10 of reality television's most iconic and famous supervillains under one roof?" She goes on to say that they must outsmart, outmanipulate, and outscheme each other through a series of challenges. Mwahaha. The first villain to arrive is Johnny Fairplay from Survivor. I do remember Johnny from watching him on Survivor when he was on the first time. Although that was in 2003. And I'm going to be honest, I don't remember much from 2003. I do vaguely remember that he lied about his grandmother dying. All I have to say about that is terrible karma. We don't mention kids or grandmas. Those are the rules. Oh, and finances if you're a real housewife. I don't specifically remember what the repercussions for him in this lie were, but it was a time before the internet was particularly hateful, so probably not much. So here he is back on our screens again after a slew of other shitty reality shows, I'm sure. Anyway, Johnny is coming in hot, and then we see a gross shot of him in his teeny tiny swimsuit. Content warning next time, please. He walks into the mansion and they give us a shot of said dead grandma Lie. He then takes a tour of the mansion, and we learn that he can count. Johnny seems to think that first in means you're number one, and that producers love you. To which a producer responds with a, okay, not so much. Next villain to arrive is Tiffany New York Pollard. As I have previously mentioned, Tiffany is from Flavor of Love, and I'm a big fan. She walks into the mansion and meets Johnny. New York is in the motherfucking house. Tiffany is flattered that Johnny knows who she is, but in no way, shape, or form does she know who he is. And fair enough. Moving on, villain number 3. We see Johnny Bananas zip up his pants. Johnny Bananas is from the real world and the challenge. God knows what he was doing in that car, but I feel bad for the driver. Anyway, we see him walk up the driveway and into the house. I've only watched a small amount of the real world, and I haven't seen the season that Johnny is from. I haven't watched the challenge. So I really have no idea why he's famous or considered a villain. But I guess we're about to find out. Also, I just want to make a mental note here that we've seen more Johnnies than anything else on the show as of yet. I'm not sure why. Perhaps people who still go by Johnny rather than John still have yet to grow up, and that this immaturity possibly leads to bad decisions, thus leading them to have a villainous reputation. I don't know. Just a thought. Johnny meets Tiffany and other Johnny. Tiffany wants to call him Big Banana, a moniker which he does not look like he deserves. He tells us that he's done 21 seasons of MTV's The Challenge, which seems like far too many. It's not exactly The Challenge if you've done it 21 times. I guess it's more like The Challenges, which is going to be the title of my memoir. Kind of like the Troubles in Ireland. I digress. Bananas is known for being mischievous, a pot stirrer, and an antagonist. Next person to arrive through the door is Corinne Olympios. Olympios? I'm not sure how to say that. I apologize. She is from The Bachelor. Yet another person I know nothing about. I've seen The Bachelor on a not-so-regular basis, but I always found the concept of a bunch of women being pitted against each other to win a man's affections a bit meh, to be honest. Much like my thoughts on Flavor of Love, I'd rather win money than a person. I don't know what that says about me. Anyway, we see foreshadowing shots of Bananas and Corinne doing weird flirty stuff. Corinne walks into the mansion and meets the others. We then see a scene of her sucking face with some nondescript bachelor man. Corinne tells us that no one liked her on her season of The Bachelor because she kissed said nondescript man first. I'm confused. Isn't that the point of the show? We see the next person to walk in is Bobby Lytes from Love and Hip Hop Miami. I've never seen Love and Hip Hop anything, and at this point I feel like I'm looking like a terrible reality TV consumer. But there truly is so much garbage out there, you guys. He's looking pretty fabulous, and he compares himself to Maleficent. Bobby meets the rest of the people, in particular New York, and he's starstruck. I get it, Bobby. Bobby tells us that he says everything that a person is thinking. To which I say, you better get out of my thoughts, Bobby, okay? I did not give you permission to read my mind. The next villain to arrive is Shake. Shake Chatterjee. I hope I said that correctly. From Love is Blind. And when Tiffany sees him, she tells him to GTFO. She does not want him there. Now, Love is Blind is a TV show that I absolutely do fuck with. The premise is great, and I particularly love the season where there was a guy, I don't recall his name, who in his testimonial was trying to get emotional about something, probably something to do with his partner, I suppose. He pulled out eye drops from his pocket, splurted them into his eyeballs, and then proceeded to fake cry. Yet another dummy who thinks the producers will edit out their stupid behavior. No, that's not how reality TV works. Your stupid behavior will be exploited. Know that. Anywho, Shake enters the house and we see clips of him from Love is Blind. I do remember this man, and let's say for his sake, I hope that his fat shaming ways are behind him. The folks are cheersing inside, and who comes in the door? The one and only Tanisha Thomas from Bad Girls Club. I used to love Bad Girls Club. I watched it from the day it started airing to the day it stopped. Something about rebellious young women screaming and yelling at each other and then going through personal growth and growing the fuck up really spoke to me. I guess it was because I was one of them while watching. Doesn't really take a psychiatrist to figure that shit out. The main thing I remember Tanisha doing was banging pots and pans together in the morning where the other girls were sleeping, because they had kept her up all night partying. Pretty hilarious. She also went on to be the host of the later season's reunions, which I always love to see. Tanisha is a woman that commands respect. She walks in and says hi, and we see the pan smashing scene. We also see that Bobby and Tanisha know each other. The next douchebag to arrive is Jax Taylor from Vanderpump Rules. And I don't need to see any more scenes with this bloated, sweaty mess on my screen, but I guess here we are. He tells us that he looks back on the person that he used to be and he doesn't want anything to do with him. Have you looked in the mirror lately? You are still him. Obviously, the Valley has come out since the show aired and the whole fake rehab situation. Jax was a piece of shit, and he still is. If it looks, walks, and quacks like a sweaty turd, well, you guys get it. Jax enters the mansion and immediately starts sculling alcohol. Clearly a changed man. We see the next person through the door is Anfisa Arkhipchenko. I definitely did not say that right. From 90 Day Fiancé. I've always been a pretty big fan of 90 Day Fiancé. But I've also always felt like it's on the tad more exploitative side of reality TV. I'm not saying this stops me from watching it, but it does make me question whether I should be, you know? I do recognize Anfisa, but I don't really recall anything in particular. Anyway, Tanisha is happy to see her and gives her a big old hug. Bananas looks dubious. Oh no, it turns out that's the face he makes when he's attracted to someone. Wow. He should work on that. His heart apparently can't take it. And then we see more foreboding shots of flirty behavior that I hope we're not subjected to watching again in the future. Banana says, we've been here 5 minutes and have already fallen in love twice. Maybe 3 times. We then see him flirting with Bobby. Bobby says, my goal was not to come here and turn straight men gay. Bananas yells, too late. Rein it in, Johnny Bananas, Jesus. I'm starting to see why Tiffany wanted to call him the big banana. Nothing to do with his genitalia and everything to do with his inflated ego. Everyone else is checking out the bathrooms and getting themselves settled. Then we have ominous music and a car pulling into the driveway. We see Omarosa from The Apprentice. She steps out of the car and walks into the house. She meets Shake, and Shake asks, "Why is everyone scared of you?" A question I can't answer because I've never seen The Apprentice. Thank God. Nor have I seen her on any other reality show she's been a part of. Maybe she's scary because she's really smart. Maybe she's scary because she's really stupid. Was she in the White House at some point? I don't know. We find out that Omarosa and Johnny Fairplay know each other. Corinne comes downstairs and asks Omarosa, "What's your name?" To which Omarosa says in a matter of words, "Google me, bitch." And I say fair enough. I may not have watched anything that she's ever been on, but if I saw Omarosa, I'd still know who she is. Just saying. Corinne is perplexed and Omarosa is already out of fucks to give. Love it. And then Corinne has the nerve, the gall, the gumption to mam her. Ooh boy. Omarosa is going to go bawl her eyes out in the bathroom and then she will be back to physically fight you, Corinne. That's a Penny Haas from Happy Endings reference. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I simply don't know what you're doing with your life. Omarosa tells us that she has a lot of experience in this space, and mind games are essential to establishing your dominance. And Corinne is about to get mind gamed up the wazoo. Prepare yourself, Corinne. Corinne calls her a tryhard and says, "Peace, bitch." Bobby is gagged and not by the mini pickle. For some reason, Jax is petrified. And I'm so sick of men feigning being fearful of women. Literally, men abuse, assault, and kill women every fucking day. And you're scared of us? Motherfucker, please. You're a suburban terrorist. Fuck off. You know what? I've been watching too much Married at First Sight Australia, and my rage at the male species is at an all-time high. I am so sorry. It's the manosphere guy on maths that's really pushed me over the edge. If you've watched, you know. I think it's finished in Australia, but here in New Zealand, I'm like halfway through. Speaking of the manosphere, which I don't particularly want to, I don't even really want to put that term out into the universe any more than it already has been. I am interested in watching Louis Theroux's documentary about it. I love Louis Theroux from BBC Two. I have been obsessed with him since watching his Weird Weekend series from the 90s. I want to watch his latest documentary because I think it will be educational. And I do always want to come at things from an educated perspective. I also want to watch in the hopes that Louis is just going to shut all of this shit down. But I'm actually scared of what new rage is going to bring forth from the depths of my being. Clearly, I already have enough rage about just regular life things, about just regular human dickhead behavior. Do I want to add to it? I don't know. Anyway, back to the House of Villains. Omarosa is making Shake an offer that he cannot refuse. Shake, Omarosa, and Fairplay are now in an alliance. Bananas comes down to chat with Omarosa, and she calls him out for winning the challenge with someone else and not sharing the money with her. Now, I don't know anything about this, but if he's been on the challenge 21 times, and he's won a handful of those times, what the actual fuck? Give her some money. Omarosa then finds out that she's rooming with Jax and she's not happy. Who could blame her? Corinne is upstairs boo-hooing about Omarosa and Tiffany wants to know if she's feeling bullied. Tiffany then goes to talk to Omarosa. Omarosa lets Anvisa know that Tiffany was the first black woman to have her own dating show. Respect. Tiffany says that Corinne is upset. And Omarosa tells us that people weaponize tears to make you appear to be the bully. She says that Corinne is duplicitous and dangerous. I agree that she's weaponizing her tears, but I don't particularly agree that she's dangerous. But what do I know? Then Omarosa gives us the sentence of the day. The first to cry is the first to fry. I love that, and that is now a part of my lexicon. We then see a shot of the dolls representing these people. And I know I gave the dolls shit on season 3 for not being up to Jim Henson production standard, but good lord, they are 100 times more impressive than these terrifying things. These look like someone with too much calico fabric made them in a basement they were locked up in over several months. each one more deranged looking than the last. I do appreciate that the Tanisha doll is holding little sheep hands, though. That's a great detail. Tanisha and Omarosa are in the kitchen, and Tanisha tells us that she's mainly mumming these days. She says that once she had her son, she was done with everything. I assume she means when it comes to Bad Girls Club. Tanisha came to battle it out and win and take the money back to her family. Bobby, Corinne, and Tiffany are outside talking alliances. Back inside, we see one of those horse riding things that you put a coin in and sit on. And I can't for the life of me understand why it's here. We also see a T-Rex, or maybe it's a Velociraptor, with a Flavor Flav clock necklace. And I'm even more perplexed. Perhaps they have something to do with the challenge? We then hear Eva. Apparently, Eva stands for Evil Voice Audio, which is a bit of a stretch. Anyway, Eva comes over the loudspeaker and she tells everyone to report to the backyard for an important announcement. They all file out and John McHale is standing outside. And Bobby calls Joel Carson Daly. Carson Daly from MTV and the 90s. Come on, Bobby, I know you're young, but what the hell? First of all, they look nothing alike. I was also going to add that Carson Daly is way older, but I've just Googled their birth years and Joel is actually 2 years older, which leads me to believe that he's perhaps made a deal with the devil. Who's to say? The only thing that I can think that they have in common is shitting all over Tara Reid. I mean that in the metaphorical sense. Bobby is yelling, "It's Carson Daly! It's Carson Daly!" And none of these people are correcting him, which tells me that none of these people know who Joel McHale is. And now I hate everyone. Bobby comes outside and he says, "Isn't he a comedian? Is he talking about Carson Daly?" Because I don't recall that man ever saying anything funny. Bobby greets Joel and says, "Oh, I thought your name was Carson Daly." And Joel is all, "How dare you?" Bobby finds out it's Joel McHale, and he says he does know him. He knows him from E! I guess Joel and Carson were both hosts, or are both hosts, so perhaps that's where the confusion stems from. Joel tries to take control, but it's like herding cats, and they're on a flight path. After take 56, Omarosa is done. She's pissed. So we see the whole scene play out again. This time it's at the front of the house and at night. Joel says, "Welcome to the House of Villains." Then he explains the premise of the show and rips the shit out of all of these quote-unquote celebrities. They then head inside to prepare for their first Battle Royale challenge. The producers shade Bananas by giving him an XL t-shirt. He tells us that you should never come out and win the first challenge because it puts a target on your back. A giant XL-sized target. Perhaps they've heard he's the big banana and took it literally? Jax finds a letter from his wife Brittany and reads it aloud to the camera. Does anyone else think that he wrote this letter himself? I did until I saw the handwriting. There's no way in hell Jax has handwriting that nice or legible. I'm going to go ahead and say that my 5-year-old daughter has nicer handwriting than this 56-year-old man. Everyone then heads off to the challenge. They arrive and a bunch of them try to smash their way through a paper banner, which, instead of ripping, inexplicably swallows Bobby up and he falls to the ground, giving the greatest physical comedy I've seen on this show thus far. I actually laughed out loud. Poor Bobby. The celebs line up. Jax is in Hulk smash mode, and Joel says the challenge is called Balls Out. Basically, each person has a giant ball that represents them. They're all trying to push everyone else's ball out of the arena while keeping their ball in, thus dictating the winner and supervillain of the week. Joel is obsessed with balls. The villains have 2 minutes to talk strategy, and the challenge begins. Omarosa's strategy is to do nothing. And I had to say that was my first thought when watching Joel explain the game. Bobby is going after Bananas, and Bananas goes for Tiffany's ball. She's out. Shake goes for Jax's ball, and he's out. Jax didn't realize that this game requires strategy, which it doesn't, Jax. It requires brains. Your brawn-only flesh sack ain't gonna cut it. Bobby pushes out Shake's ball, and he's out. Corinne is out. Bobby's out. Fairplay's out. And Feast is out. Bananas is taking a leak on the sidelines. And Joel calls him out for being a disgusting animal for not washing his hands. Correct. Why didn't anyone push out Banana's ball when he was pissing? WTF. We're down to 3 people, Bananas, Tanisha, and Omarosa. Jax gets Tanisha. She's out. Omarosa and Bananas are at a stalemate. And they try to come to an agreement. Bananas decides he's out, and Omarosa is the winner. Omarosa gets to pick 2 people to go on a luxury reward with her tomorrow. The villains arrive back at the house, and everyone is having dinner and unpacking. Omarosa and Fairplay are in the kitchen, chatting about being old school villains. And Jax is upstairs, straight up lying to Tiffany's face while recounting the trials and tribulations of his life. He said that he made one mistake in the 10 years on Vanderpump Rules. Tiffany says, "You seem so flawless, though." And in this moment, I know she knows nothing about this man. He says that the one thing was he was unfaithful to his girlfriend. But he ended up marrying her, so who really gives a fuck, right? What a piece of shit. Tiffany says that a man can forget their appendage sometimes. To which I say, what's with all the usage while cheating if they've forgotten about it? That makes literally no sense. Jax then goes on to tell us that he's cheated on every girlfriend he's ever had. Shocking. He then bitches about having to wait behind 2 women to take a shower. Eye roll. It's night time, and apparently not one of Jax's 5 nose jobs has fixed his deviated septum because he snores like a fucking freight train. Don't do too much cocaine, kids. Everyone is waking up and having breakfast. Omarosa, Tanisha, Bananas, and Shake are chatting downstairs, and Tanisha says that Jax knocked her ball out like she owed him money in the street. Omarosa is trying to dig deep with these people to see how they really feel about who should go home. She says Bobby is the most interesting person in the house and that everyone else is boring. Bong! Eva comes over the loudspeaker and tells everyone to convene in the bar area. Omarosa wants to take Tanisha and Bobby on the luxury reward to get some pampering. She says that they're the 2 biggest mouths in the house and she wants the goss. Corinne is pissed because something about Bachelor Nation and how Omarosa doesn't want her to take the spotlight. The delusion is real. And off Omarosa, Bobby, and Tanisha go on their threesome date. In the car, Omarosa says that her father was murdered when she was 7, which I was not expecting to hear. She says that her mother lived in the projects with 4 kids, and Bobby says, "Look how you overcame that." Omarosa says that she earned her edge, and after that trauma, I'm thinking that's an understatement. She says that the first time she saw herself on television, she saw that edge, but she didn't want that to be the totality of who she is. She did some self-reflection and made adjustments on how she interacts with people. Bobby says that his goal is to buy his mother a house. Then they arrive at the spa. Back at the house, Bananas says that he doesn't want a beer, but he'll take a White Russian. And I guess he's making a joke about Anfisa, which is gross. Either that or he actually wants to drink a milk-based cocktail. And I'm not sure which is grosser. Jax says that he doesn't think he's mentally tough enough to be here. But he is mentally physically enough to be here, which confuses everyone, most of all the editors. Jax is in some weird anxiety spiral, which we've seen numerous times before on Vanderpump Rules. And he's also sending Shake into the depths of despair too. Keep your toxicity to yourself, Jax. Back at the spa, they're talking strategy and about who to put up. And Omarosa is contemplating putting up Bananas, even though she made a deal with him at the end of the challenge not to put him up. I say do it. You have no loyalty to these people. It's about villainy after all. Bobby, Omarosa, and Tanisha are back from their date, and Eva comes over the loudspeaker to tell us it's time for the hit list nominations. They all head in to the villain fortress. Sidebar, I'm assuming Jax needs those glasses to see, but I'm entirely convinced that he thinks they make him look smarter. And I'm here to say they don't. They're wonky, and that makes you look incompetent, because you haven't gone to an optometrist and had them fix your damn glasses. Anyway, Omarosa takes the villain chair and gives us a pretty good evil laugh. She says, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. Another great one-liner. First person to be nominated is Corinne. No surprises here. Corinne doesn't know how to use Google. And sometimes it's just about the keywords you're using or not using. It's an art form to Google search correctly. The next person up is Shake. He's in disbelief. Believe it, buddy. Final person up is Omarosa is leading us to believe that she's going to put up Bananas. Bananas is pissed. But she actually puts up Jax. Bananas needs a diaper change. Tomorrow, they will fight to the death to get off the hit list. The villains head back to the house. And that's a wrap on Season 1, Episode 1. Thanks for listening. See ya. Wouldn't want to be ya.